I was a barmaid in the Mountain Inn. 'Twas there I learned the wages, the misery of sin. Along came a skier, fresh from off the slope, and he's the one that ruined me and shattered all my hope. Singing 90 pounds a rucksack, a pound of grub or two, and he'll shush the mountain like his daddy used to do. Now early in the morning, before the break of day, he handed me a 5-note, and with it he did say, "Oh, take this, my darling, for the damage I have done. You may have a daughter, you may have a son. No, if you have a daughter, bounce her on your knee. And if you have a son, send the bastard out to ski. Singing 90 pounds a rucksack, a pound of grub or two, and he'll shush the mountain like his daddy used to do."
Are you a skier? Are you a mountain climber? Do you enjoy the great outdoors and have a passion for nature? The U.S. Army needs your help in training skiers and climbers for a new division of tactical specialists. These skills are necessary in the landscape of today's global war. The Army wants to hear from you.
On November 15, 1941, just 3 weeks before the tragedy at Pearl Harbor, the 87th Infantry Mountain Regiment was activated. Dubbed the 10th Mountain Division, these men made up the first mountain regiment in United States military history.
Skiing was a big thing in the Midwest and the East. And I went to the university, started the University of Pittsburgh, and they had a ski club, so I joined the ski club. One morning I went into work, and Dr. Jensen, he said, "The Army is starting a new unit. It's mountain troops, and skiing is the basis of the whole thing." Next thing I knew, I was on a troop train headed west.
On the outskirts of Leadville, Colorado, sat Camp Hale, the training center for the 10th Mountain Division. At an elevation of 10,000 feet above sea level, Camp Hale provided the rigorous training conditions needed to get the men of the 10th in shape to handle the terrain overseas.
We had A and B slopes down at Camp Hale. They were small slopes. We would pack up our rucksacks and hike from Camp Hale up to Cooper Hill, and then bivouac out in the area, and they had a T-bar lift then. It's the same poles that are used now for the chairlift they have, and we did our training there.
Ski Cooper, as it's now known, has a rich history as both a destination ski resort and historical landmark. Now, 75 years later, the Icelantic athletes ride the same rope tow, gaze upon the same landscape, trying to imagine what it was like for the brave young men of the 10th.
And now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He is the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. A toot, a toot, a tootly-out, a toot. He blows an 8 to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the basic guitar is playing with them. He makes the company jump when he plays reveille. He is the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. He was so boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B.
Military skiing was a lot different than recreational skiing that we had started. Skiing with a rucksack on your back and a rifle.
And they were carrying anywhere from 70 to 120 pounds, generally around 90s. But that's a lot of weight to carry.
You know, all the equipment was cool. The poles are really just so streamlined and technical for that era.
You know, going from not skiing to learning how to ski, especially on those long skis with no edges, and the boots that they had. These guys are rocking layers of wool, cotton gear.
I was a barmaid in a mountain inn. There I learned the wages and miseries of sin. Long came a skier from fresh off the slopes. He's the one that ruined me and shattered all my hopes. 90 pounds of rucksack, a pound of grub or two. Discuss the mountain like his daddy used to do.
We skinned up to about 11,000 feet, and there's a couple old cabins up there, and it kind of just brings you back to trying to live out in the middle of nowhere.
And then here we are today, sitting in the same cabin, and we're still pointing out those same lines that we could ski.
Following a day of learning about the training grounds and the equipment used by the men of the 10th, the Icelantic athletes headed out for a day of skiing in the White River National Forest to perceive the monumental backcountry that was once explored by the tenacious soldiers.
Division was very well trained for maneuvering and surviving at altitude and trying to develop systems of fighting that would work in combat. So they had an exercise which was called the D series, which was a 6 weeks in the middle of winter simulated combat. We lost a number of people. We lost some to frostbite. We had ski accidents, and we had some cases of pneumonia. I came to the conclusion they were trying to kill us.
The 10th Mountain Division deployed for combat in Italy in January of 1945. Although missions were considered successful, heavy losses were suffered. Following Germany's surrender in Italy in May 1945, the 10th Mountain Division returned home and the infantry unit was disassembled. Although no longer a combat unit, the men used their knowledge of terrain, weather conditions, and equipment available at the time to influence what would become a multi-billion-dollar ski industry stateside.
I think them coming back to the United States after having some intense experiences like that, they went straight to the mountains and straight to developing ski resorts and back to nature, returned to it.
I just still had that yearning to get back into the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, heavy road, I can't pick you up, walk you to the mountains. Oh, heavy road, stuck in my heart, take you to the ocean.
It's just being in the mountains with your friends. You don't have any radio, you don't have any television, you don't have any phones, tell stories, sing songs, go out and ski. That's what it's all about. Just enjoy nature as she is.
No matter what era you live in, you still appreciate the awe and beauty of nature.
There's this similarity that I see, and that is just the love for this thing we call skiing. And this whole week has been a celebration of just that, our love for skiing.
We all had the same interest in skiing, same interest in mountains, and that camaraderie has stayed with us all of our lives. We had pride in what we were, pride in what we accomplished.
The 10th Mountain Division played a unique and incomparable role in defeating the Axis powers during World War II. But their impact on the ski industry and anyone who has ever stepped in a pair of skis remains. The rigorous training was unlike any other experienced by United States military servicemen at the time. Besides the clothes and military-issued packs they hiked with, the men carried with them a courage and honor that has survived long past their duty. The pride of the 10th Mountain Division will forever hold a special place in the hearts of Icelantic riders. And their sacrifice is something that will be appreciated in the ski community forever.
The moral of the story, as you plainly see, is never trust a skier an inch above your knee. For I trusted one and now look at me. I've got a bastard son in the Mountain Infantry.
Okay, dropping in 10.
What? Dude, I went for like a legitimate drink and the ball just landed on the spike.
Good. There's a bunch of stuff happening out here. Hoppers, leapers. Oh, and leaper, creeper, dropper, hopper.
One guy really elevated out of the pack. Owen Leap and Stomper. Coming to your neighborhood. Best gear on the mountain, you heard it first.
Spirit animal for the day. Meow. Meow. Chicken wing in your ski boot. Chicken wing in your ski boot. Well, so one thing that was really interesting that we learned yesterday from the 10th Mountain Descendants that were giving us the history lesson is that these guys were pretty tough, and when they were out snacking, they would take trout skin, and this is salmon skin, but they would take trout skin and the natural oils, the omegas, they would really just like a natural sunscreen on the face, and so it allowed for like a natural tan, and you'd get some good omegas soaking through your pores, you know. But mainly it was about protecting yourself from the UV rays. And then you could just nibble it afterwards and get your omegas, you know, internally as well. And to me that was really interesting. So, you want to try them?